Caleb Durless.
Curlum Durless.
Was that Medea? Hello. Caleb Durless.
Welcome into Red Raider Recon, brought to you by Cantex Roofing. I'm Clint Scott. He's Rob Bro.
This week we're talking Texas Tech versus BYU for the opportunity at a Big 12 championship.
Welcome into Red Raider Recon, brought to you by Cantex Roofing. I'm Clint Scott. He's Rob Bro.
This week we're talking Texas Tech versus BYU for the opportunity at a Big 12 championship.
Welcome into Red Raider Recon, brought to you by Cantex Roofing. I'm Clint Scott. He's Rob Bro.
Did we not just do this? We haven't done this before?
I don't think so.
This week we're talking Texas Tech and BYU for an opportunity at a Big 12 championship. I could swear we've done this before.
Welcome into Red Raider Recon. Ladies and gentlemen, the rematch is on. Texas Tech will face BYU a second time this season, this time in Arlington for a Big 12 championship. Before 2025, the two teams had met just twice in their history. Now they'll have met twice in the same season. Both teams head to Jerry World with 11-1 records. BYU finished their regular season with a 41-21 win over UCF. LJ Martin had 3 rushing touchdowns in the win. For the Red Raiders, they picked up their second shutout in Big 12 play, pounding West Virginia 49-0. Caleb Douglas had 2 touchdowns and 127 yards on just 5 catches. You have to go all the way back to 2000 for the last time Texas Tech had 2 shutouts in Big 12 play. The Red Raider defense finished a conference season allowing just 100 points against league opponents. That broke the mark set by Nebraska in 2009, where a unit led by Ndamukong Suh allowed 105. What's even more impressive? The Cornhuskers played 8 conference games that season. Texas Tech did it with 9. Cameron Dickey ended the regular season as the rushing touchdown leader in the conference with 13. He also broke the 1,000-yard mark in the win against West Virginia. Thanks to him and Taj Brooks, it's the first time Texas Tech has had 3 straight seasons with a 1,000-yard rusher. All in all, 10 Big 12 teams ended the season bowl eligible. All of those teams also had winning conference records with at least a 5-4 mark. But the focus is on 2 teams, Texas Tech and BYU. Can the Cougars get revenge for a 29-7 loss in Lubbock and claim a spot in the college football playoff? Or will Texas Tech continue their incredible season and finally win a Big 12 championship?
We good?
Are you good?
Texas Tech and BYU playing for the second time this season. The Red Raiders and Cougars played once in Lubbock. Texas Tech game day brings BYU in. BYU in all blue, Texas Tech in all white. And the score was 29-7. At the end of that game, I didn't feel like it was that close.
You know, I was going back and rewatching it and trying to just remember if am I overdoing just how dominant you felt in that game? Because I was like, yeah, but you kicked a lot of field goals, you had the red zone issues, and then even going back and watching it, like when you kick a field goal to go up 19-0, like you can hear, if you go back and listen to it, it's like applause, but there's also some groans, especially on the 3rd down. I think that was the incompletion to Cam Dickey. Anyways, it's another field goal. That's the point. But also going like, you're about to, I mean, you've basically got a quarter left. They're not coming back.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm remembering that correctly. You were incredibly dominant in that game, even though you didn't have a perfect day offensively. I still think part of that was what BYU's defense was doing. Did you have opportunities left on the field? Absolutely. But you crushed them. And I want to see if you disagree with me here. I just think everything that went into that week, also how good you are, the momentum that you had picked up, the college game day feel, there's not a team in college football that I don't think you wouldn't have beat that day. Maybe not as bad. I just line up a team on the other side in that scenario. I think you were walking out with a win. It just happened to be BYU, and you just happened to dismantle their offense.
Now, they also left some things on the board.
Mm-hmm.
They muffed a punt I think Bear Bachmeier had two really bad decisions. One, throwing to Jacob Rodriguez. Now, Jacob Rodriguez made a great play, but he should not have thrown that ball into coverage across the middle. And then should have just taken a sack instead of trying to throw it, and he ended up throwing it backwards for a fumble. Those three turnovers are not generally what BYU does. So I think in that sense, it was also, I think if a BYU, if Cougar Connect, whatever they call it.
Cougar Connect sounds like,
I think that's a real thing.
business.
I
Yeah,
think that's
like a real
thing.
business.
Well, I think if it was a business, it might be something else. Like an app.
Like a dating website?
Like an app, maybe, yeah.
Are you lonely? You're a BYU alum, and you're just looking for love. Check out Cougar Connect.
So I do think that BYU would also be able to say that they left some things on the board.
Yeah.
And that maybe it was closer than it seemed. But I think if you go out there and you play your best game and they play their best game and it's clean, it certainly might not be 22 again, but you're not kicking 5 field goals if you're playing your best. And they ran 9 plays in the red zone. Does that get to 20 if they're playing their best?
You know, this is something that I think our shows have discussed for the last couple of weeks because it seemed like you were on a collision course with BYU again.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see more questions about BYU than you are like, hey, if Arizona State snuck in,
Right.
how do you feel about that? Or if Utah, if you happen to see them a second time, you just didn't see that. It was all about BYU, and it made sense. And when you're doing the special teams, I think that's the first thing. Like, they can be cleaner in special teams for sure. And also something like, yeah, they had the muff punt, but they also had a couple of returns that put them in really rough spots, and you're going, probably, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to bring that back? And also with Bear Bachmeier, you have the 2 big mistakes that you said, but you also had a bunch of little mistakes too. Like going to David Bailey's tackle for loss that sets him up for the field goal that they miss. It's a tough one. Bachmeier should have pulled that. That's a read option. If he pulls that, he has a first down.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they for sure score a touchdown or anything, but if you're a BYU fan, you'd like to see that drive continue. So there were some little things that I think you had him rattled, and it's understandable. But if like you're saying, if he's getting past some of that shakiness, and it's just, okay, our best versus your best, how big of a point difference is it? Is it a full 22 points? Because, again, I don't necessarily think you played your best offensively. I think you played about as good as you can defensively. So what is that point difference there?
We'll dive deeper into that first game and obviously the game coming up later on in the show. I do want to get into West Virginia a little bit. There's not much to say about a 49-0 win beyond hell yeah kind of stuff. But I want to ask you this.
So like a sassy Stone Cold?
Yeah. Give me a hell yeah.
It's a martini glass.
Yeah. So I do think that BYU's playing their best football down the stretch, and we'll talk about that later on.
One more, the Texas Garter Snake.
Is Texas Tech playing their best football, or did they play 2 really bad teams? Are they peaking to finish the season, or have they played 2 bad teams?
I think both can be true, because I don't know if, for Morton, he's not getting like more agile or something like that, but either he's finding a way to play more consistently through the injury, or it is getting better and better and better, and both can be true there too. So I think there's stop number 1 for me. The second one is, hey, offensively in the red zone, yeah, UCF, not great. Defense underappreciated, still not great. West Virginia, I mean, they threw in, felt like a white towel, or threw in a towel, white flag, whatever, mid first quarter after your second touchdown drive. But either way, like, go look at what you did at the end of BYU, where you said, hey, we're not gonna We're not going to have a false start. We're just going to hand it to Cam Dickey. We're going to do a full house formation, and we're going to ram it down your throat. And then that's basically what you did against West Virginia and UCF. So I think you have slowly but surely just finally figured out, hey, you can out-tough opponents if you're not beating yourself and if you execute. Because that's the other thing. I mean, you saw more, attacking the numbers and stuff like that with Reggie Virgil. There was some creativity, but I just think at your best, you haven't been stopped whenever you get inside the 5 and you say we're gonna score here. And so, I think you figured that out.
On that line of thinking, here are my 3 things from the weekend.
Okay.
Caleb Durless.
Caleb Durless.
Was that Medea? Hello. Caleb Durless. Was that Megan the Stallion?
Oh,
Caleb Douglas. Durgless.
What's up with you and names
I don't
lately,
know, man. Caleb Douglas is turning it up to finish the season like he did last year. He really came on at the end of last year. He is coming on again. More on Caleb Douglas in my overreactions.
Can we go back and forth again?
Sure.
First thought.
Sorry, I didn't do that.
That's all right. Caleb really threw you off.
Oh, Mr. Douglas.
Mr. Douglas. I want to do it now. I won't. Caleb Douglas will have games that just remind you that I think we forget he has one of the highest ceilings of anybody on the roster. Really does. NFL talent, NFL build, and I'm with you. I think as a whole, he's playing some of his best football, specifically this last one against West Virginia. If you wanted to, you could have just scored 1,000 points with just him and Behren.
Yeah.
And I think when you get into maybe even this week against BYU, because you tried to and you had some success with some deep balls against BYU the first go around, maybe this one, maybe as you move into better competition with college football playoff, although I think you're seeing college football playoff roster this week in the Big 12 Championship, just saying, you would think that you're going to run into teams that maybe won't be able to completely take away Dickey and Williams, but are going to be better at managing it. So when you're needing that 1 to 2 plays difference, what connection can you find on important drives? And I think that I think there's option 1 as far as that. It might be, depending on the team, option 1 without anything even getting taken away. And so I think you're going to need Morton to Douglas for however long your postseason run's going to be.
What's your second thought?
Second thought, I'm going to save my big one for third. I'll never trust Scott Satterfield down the final stretch of his season ever again. I don't know why I feel betrayed.
I kept trying to tell you.
And you know what's funny? I came into the season and I said, can't remember if I had them at 8 or 7 wins. I don't want to specifically say I had them at 7 wins. Haha, nailed it. But I didn't have it winning 7 in a row in a stretch and then still losing the last 4. I'm just saying Scott Satterfield in crunch time craps his pants.
Yeah.
And they didn't put away teams earlier when they were winning games too like they should have. They should have beat Iowa State by a lot more than they did.
Yeah.
Probably should have beat Kansas by a lot more than they did, especially looking back. I think that he can have a fine career for as long as he's at Cincinnati, but I am never going to fall into a trap again where I'm like, look, they're 6-2 right now. Yeah. They're 7-1. They're alive for the Big 12 championship. Somebody should bet on them. I'm going to bet against them until they prove me wrong.
Did you know Scott Satterfield's great-great-grandfather was a naval captain? And at the time, naval captains wore red jackets, right? And they say, well, why are you wearing red jackets? Because when you get shot, he doesn't want his contemporaries or his opponents or men that he's fighting with to know he got shot, so he can keep battling. Well, Satterfield's great-granddad wore brown pants.
Thanks for that.
Second thought. After the Kansas State game, there was take out that Behren Morton was obviously hurt. Couldn't push off his back leg, wasn't moving well, and was obviously limping in the second half. There's a film guy who broke down the Texas Tech and BYU film heading into the BYU-Texas Tech game, and he didn't know that Behren was injured at that time. I guess nobody really did, about the hairline fracture or whatever else it was. And so he was just kind of hammering Behren as a guy who didn't have good footwork. When, quite obviously, Behren just could not push off of his back leg. Against West Virginia, he was hitting his drops, hitting that third step, and firing. Behren Morton looks healthy. And I think another week, he'll look more healthy. And then potentially 3 weeks after that, if you have the bye and you're playing in the Cotton Bowl as the 3 or 4 seed, we'll talk about that, he's going to look even healthier. So I think my first 2 thoughts play into my third thought, but I'll let you give your third thought first.
Okay.
You said you had a big one, and I'm excited for it.
So we talked before the show, and I told you there was one that I was going back and forth on. Should this be an overreaction? Should this be, because obviously we try to separate the two somewhat, and I just don't know how I was even putting it. It's like I was trying to force it into overreactions. Dude, I know you don't need to hear this. I'm just looking at you. So maybe I should look at the camera to whoever needs to hear this. You are a legitimate top 5 team in the country. I shouldn't have to say it at this point, but there's some, and you were going back and forth with one on the postgame show, like some that believe you're only here because you play in the Big 12 or because people lost in front of you in the rankings, which, yeah, if you're doing math, no, duh, that's how polls work. But if you're going like, hey, you're just in the Big 12, that's why, go off of any metric that you want. Go off of any measurable that the College Football Playoff Committee will go off of. Go off of any measurable or stat or analytics that grading sites do. They're all telling you this is a top 5 team, probably hedging towards a top 3 team. And the other one I've seen is like, oh, it's only because, well, you use Texas and Oklahoma. It's because they left, right? That's why. It just happens to be that they're not here. If you might get a chance with Oklahoma. If you line them up at your barn, you're a favorite. If you line them up on a neutral field, probably going to be a favorite. If you go to their barn, I like you in that game, and I'm not going to be like, oh, you would dog walk them in any of those because I don't want to see the SpongeBob meme, another hypothetical win for Red Raider Recon.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what people need to see at this point. And I get it, you're new. That's the biggest thing. You're new. You've gotten here in a new way that some still can't like wrap their minds around. You're a top 4 team. I just went up from top 5, top 4 because that's where the buys are, and you deserve to be there. You've earned it. Obviously, you need to go take care of business this week and go win a Big 12 championship. But I mean, it's not like, oh yeah, super cool. Here's the feather in your cap for being a top 5 team. Mm-hmm. No, you have a legitimate shot to make a college football playoff run and make a ton of noise.
Yeah, not only that, in the expanded playoff, you'd be a top 4 seed in the regular playoff.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yes.
So. West Virginia and UCF are really bad. And this is my third thought.
Third thought.
But Texas Tech as a team seems to be peaking at the right time. I think defensively, you've been good all season. But offensively, I really do think you're getting healthy and figuring more and more things out, especially in the red zone, especially with Behren Morton's health, with Caleb Douglas getting more locked in, with Reggie Virgil figuring out some new things and new ways to get in, and with Terrence Carter becoming more of a focal point. I think this offense is a top 10 offense in college football. And the defense is a top 3 defense in college football. As you said, this is a top 4 team in college football. You ready for some overreactions?
I am. By the way, I am. Yours were very in line this week. I think that's the most in line. It was almost like a little ladder.
It was.
Of thoughts. It was well
I
done.
had a theme.
I had a Scott Satterfield detour because he made me mad.
Scatterfield.
That result made me mad.
Yeah.
I am so ready to overreact.
All right. Overreaction number 1, Texas Tech will have a 1,000-yard receiver by the end of the season in Caleb Douglas, currently right at 800, and 2 1,000-yard rushers by the time they wrap up play this year.
Yeah, I guess if you
Caleb Dickey just passed.
Yeah.
Cameron Dickey. Only on this show. Only on this show do I do that. It's you. It's your fault.
I think you meant Curlum Dickey.
Curlum Dickey. This is the only show I ever do that. I talk about Texas Tech football 25 hours a week or more. It's the only show I do that on.
So you're blaming me? What did I do?
Cam Dickey, already at 1,000, just passed him. Jacoby Williams at just over 700 yards rushing. And I think he can pass it if you play enough games.
I think that is right at the. I think they'll get close with everything that you said. I don't know if they'll get every single number, so that's like a perfect overreaction. Because at the same time, it's like it's not crazy to think like that's attainable. Because we've seen Jacoby Williams go off. We've seen him. I mean, he can have a huge chunk play at any moment and get half 100.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I almost expect that from Caleb Douglas. Not almost. I expect Caleb Douglas to get there.
Yeah, so that's if he has 90 yards a game over the next 2, because you have 2 guaranteed, I would say. Well, for sure you have 2 guaranteed. It's just if it's in the playoff or a bowl game. I think it'll be in the playoff. And then certainly if you have 3 games, Caleb Douglas will pass that. But I think the Jacoby Williams 1,000-yard rusher thing would be harder to get to.
Yeah.
But if you played in 4 games.
My first overreaction is that a healthy Terrence Carter, if you would have had a fully healthy Terrence Carter all season, wouldn't have just been an all Big 12 first team lock. He'd be pushing All-American status.
I think it was the Kansas game or the Oklahoma State game early in the season, midway, pretty much, that Terrence Carter passed all Mac Leftwich tight ends ever in production.
Which, I'm trying to go back when we were doing the Mac Leftwich episode. Yeah, that math checks out.
It was like about 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's finished with over 500 and 5 touchdowns. He's the most prolific tight end in a Mac Leftwich offense ever. And some of that I think is just he's got one to use, and he's using him. But I also think Terrence Carter's just good. He's a dude.
So this is, if you're breaking it down, and we did all Big 12 first team kind of predictions last week, which you can always go back and watch those episodes. Koziel at Houston should be the first team, and I don't have a problem with that. He's really good. I think Trigg at Baylor has a very good shot at getting like second team. I guess it wouldn't be overly crazy if he got first team, but those are the 2 I think you're deciding between. I think Joe Royer maybe hasn't put up the numbers that I thought he would, even though I think he's got a chance to have a fine professional career. But if you said, which one do you want out of the 4? It's Terrence Carter, hands down. He's the only one. He's the only one of those that you're running like sweeps to.
Yeah.
He's the best with an RPO, and he's also the best at, once he has the ball in his hands, tight end yak. That's where it's hard to find guys like that, and he's truly special.
My second overreaction is Texas Tech will be the 2 seed in the CFP. I think the loser of Indiana and Ohio State will be the 3 seed, depending on how bad they get beat. And I think if Alabama can beat Georgia, which I think they can, then Georgia or Oregon will be the 4 seed.
That absolutely can happen. And obviously there's going to be, I'm almost expecting, I don't know why my gut is telling me this, but if, let's just say Georgia won and you won, I kind of think they would push back the loser to the 4 seed of Ohio State, Indiana, if there was any sort of double-digit win. Now, if they're going down the wire and it's a game-winning drive or just a single score difference, yeah, I guess probably 3. But I think the loser will end up being the 4 if Georgia and Tech won. If one of them lost, then yeah, I would put them at the 3 regardless.
I think the committee doesn't care about rematches per se. But a conference championship game into a semifinal game as the 1-4 would be a little interesting to me. I think if Indiana or Ohio State gets blown out by 24, they might drop them all the way to 6. Just bracket-wise.
Ooh.
To keep them off the other side.
Boy, that would be brutal if you...
Yeah.
I say that, I mean, you're in the playoff. But I would be upset if I were the coach,
right.
If I were Signetti or Day, either one that's in that scenario.
Well, if you go to 5, it'd just be the 5-4. And then you still have the chance to play Ohio State again. So would you rather have the 4 seed and the bye or the 6 seed? Because 5-6 the same thing. 5-6 is the same thing, except you get to play the 4 instead of the 3.
Is it crazy? Like I think this year is so muddy that I don't think it really matters of where you're at with a bye, as long as you get a bye. Like if you end up, if that happens and you were to get the 2nd seed, I mean, I'm gonna talk about it.
Yeah, you're also the home seed to that playoff game.
Yeah, I don't think it puts you. I don't think it gives you a massive advantage 1, 2, 3, 4 with this field. You're going to have to play really good teams regardless. And I get that's how the playoff works, but this year I just think it's so even and anybody can beat anybody. If Ohio State, I guess if Indiana does this too, but I think Ohio State's been the most consistent team all season long. If they were the ones and they beat Indiana by 14, I would say, I think I'd prefer the 3 or the 2 if I can get there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would anyways, just because it's the higher seed.
Well, the seed's not tied to the
that's
bowl.
the one where I would go, there is a semifinal wall waiting for you with the Buckeyes.
Yeah, the seed is not tied to the bowl. So if you're in the top 4, you're going to be at the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
So, your turn.
Speaking of college football playoff committee, ESPN, the committee itself, and national sports talk talent aren't even trying to hide that they're screwing BYU. It's incredible. It's annoying. It is horrible for the Big 12 because I think we came in and Yormark. This is part of why he was actively against. Like, no, we're not going to take less bids just because they're automatic. And I like that approach. I know Yormark said something during the Arizona game
for the first time.
Yeah, but it's taken a while and it hasn't been that loud. Like you've seen other Big 12 coaches like Joey McGuire talk more for BYU and Utah and louder. That's a whole different conversation. But when you see like graphics being put up on ESPN, and they're like, which team's in, which team's out? And you see Notre Dame, and you see Miami, and you see Vanderbilt, and you see Texas, and you're like, there's a 1-loss team you're not putting up there, right?
Somebody said the other day on one of these things, maybe it was Joe Klatt, which is not ESPN, but another talking head, that BYU wasn't in at-large because they're playing for a conference championship. That's why they're not in the at-large discussion.
So then Alabama shouldn't be in the at-large discussion.
Right.
That
It doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make...
No.
They might... I was like thinking about this, the way that they're being handled, and this is crazy because right now, again, here's your first reminder, we're filming this on Tuesday. I don't think anything will change. Right now, they're 11th. I mean, in reality,
Which is
when we're looking
basically
at the
out.
polls, you're the first team out.
Yeah.
Right? And they might as well be like San Jose State, the way they get talked about. And they're just blatantly ignoring them.
Yeah, they're not even talked about.
And the only time we see him mentioned is, and I like Reese Davis. You see the like, now could BYU be a bid stealer? How are we talking about them as a bid stealer?
Right.
That was the only, and at least he mentioned them. At least he talked about them.
People are more worried about Texas and their 9-3 record. And I've complained about this enough. I'm not going to get relitigate it right here on this podcast. You can go to doubletsportsnetwork.com or the YouTube channel and find other thoughts about that from me. But it just feels like that BYU is getting iced out. It's bad for the conference. It's bad for Brett Yormark. It's a bad look. By the way, does he have an office at the Big 12 studios or whatever? He's got an office at the Big 12 headquarters, right? Mm-hmm. You think?
I would think.
And like he's there in Arlington some?
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he might not live there, but he's like around the offices.
He visits.
Surely he has an office.
Yeah.
Why is he doing all these Zooms from a blank white like boardroom?
Yeah.
How does he not have some? First of all, a 1080 webcam is like $150. Let's not, or just like have the laptop a little higher. Like, how do we not? Is this the Big 12 has Big 12 studios, right?
Yeah.
Aren't they in the same building? Couldn't he walk down there and say, "I have a Zoom. Can I use these?"
You would think that you would have better production.
I mean, it looks
for that.
so
Yeah.
bad. I mean, it looks cheap.
Yeah.
You're a third-rate conference doing that. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe a ring light?
Production is what you're saying.
Like, we're no buddies, okay? And peek behind the curtain, we're filming this on an iPhone, okay? Lights. We have the logo here. Can they not put a Big 12 on the wall?
You not get a Big 12 cutout?
Can we print it off a piece of paper? Can you not walk down and say, "Hey, can I get those Texas Tech BYU helmets for a segment real quick?"
You could at least do like here's the background, the set background where it's picking up my body and there's a bunch of Big 12s back there. You could at least do that.
Does he think it's a radio interview? Nobody can see him? We can see up your nose, Yormark. Figure it out.
You know what's crazy? Because he's done a ton of good things to keep this conference together.
Yeah.
And to keep them alive and to keep them as financially stable as possible. And I like his bravado. I like his angle of like, I do believe that this conference can get there to where we're on the same playing field as the Big Ten and the SEC. Will you ever get there? No. But how close can you get? I like that. This is like the first time it's like, well, if you believe that, like, it probably isn't going to work, right? If he's just up and he's knocking on doors and if he's now sending text every single night to Yurichek, where are we at with BYU? That's probably not going to work in the end, but at least campaign for them.
It should have been happening before last Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think Yormark is a little bit like Jerry Jones, and let me tell you why. Brett Yormark is going to be really good at making the Big 12 money. Mm-hmm. And that's good. And I think the business of the Big 12 has grown, and he's going to find all these blockchain.com kind of things to infuse capital into the Big 12. That's all positive. but he seems out of touch right now with the current landscape. He's not a guy who knows that he needs to campaign for BYU because, for whatever reason, college football's not a meritocracy. It should be. It should be hard work pays off and all that kind of stuff. But these are the same people out there saying, well, we shouldn't have played a hard non-conference game because all you care about is wins. Well, yeah, in the history of sport, everything that's ever mattered is wins and losses. You morons.
Did you see the Herb Street tweet?
I responded twice on accident. Not on accident. I replied and quote tweeted. That will be my response to Kirk Herbstreit will be on the YouTube channel by the time this is up.
Yeah. Okay. My last overreaction? Where are we? Yeah, overreaction. This is the best Big 12 defense we've seen in the recent era. It would have also been the best defense in any Big 12 era. Now, you're basically working with 3 decades here.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're in total a younger conference. But, I mean, if you want to go to SWC days, you want to go to border conference days, doesn't matter. And it would have been dominant if you're just looking at the Big 12 in the 90s when it was a slower pace, slower approach to the game, a lot more run heavy, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You're built for that. It would have been in the mid 2000s with these pass rushers it would have been a nightmare for those teams. It doesn't matter. Like, pick the era. This would have been the best Big 12 defense. It's close to a perfectly constructed defense that we've ever seen, certainly in the Big 12. And, without being a legacy team, the way you've built this defense and roster-wise, it's borderline impossible without the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. That's how it works, right? Because you think of like some of the best defenses just in college football, like you go to the 2010 Alabamas, like 2011 Alabama especially, or like early 2000s Miami, maybe a team like that. They're all homegrown. Nothing under the table over there, right?
Yeah. We had 4 years with the 5 stars stacking up.
Yeah. Still homegrown. And that's just like, you don't have, since you're new and you're trying to be a new blood, you don't have the luxury of doing that, but no one's able to do that, right? Because college football since then has completely shifted. And that's where I think you look at this roster and staff. Let's start with the staff, all right? James Blanchard, you have the best GM in the country. It's tremendous. Sheil Wood, I think you have the best defensive coordinator in the country. Joey McGuire, I think you have, for what college football is right now, the perfect fit at Texas Tech and one of the best coaches and types of coaches with how you handle things and what college football is today, because it's almost a management approach. Mm-hmm. That's just the staff, right? And then you get into, you have the best linebacker in the country, you have the best pass rusher in the country, you might have the best lockdown corner in the country with Bryce Pollock, certainly in the Big 12, that's my thought, and then everywhere else around there, best front in the country.
Yeah.
Everywhere else around there is at least really good when you're filling in those spaces. To me, it's wound up, and I guess we'll get into this a little bit later, but I don't know, this kind of feels like, again, it's changed from overreaction and just how I really feel. I mean, not how I, like that, like, I don't really feel it, but like I should just be looking at this as it's impossible to prove it as a fact, but you can believe it as a fact.
Yeah.
I just, show me the time in the Big 12 that this defense wouldn't have been dominant against.
Yeah. Because of that, my third overreaction is nothing feels like an overreaction anymore. Like if I told you right now that Texas Tech has the best opportunity to win a national championship in 2025, a lot of people nationally would say that's an overreaction. But to me today, doesn't feel like one. Mm-hmm. I think you could argue Ohio State. And I think Indiana's very good. I think Georgia's offense has figured some things out. Their defense has been good. I think you could beat all 3 of them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You ready for some Big 12 players of the year?
Of the week. Would you like to go first?
Yes. I'll go offensive. I'll say Caleb Douglas, 5 catches, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, who might yours be?
I feel like you did this on purpose. That's a good pick. Behren Morton was my offensive player of the year of the week. 25 of 32, 310 yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Just a dynamite performance from him. If you wanted to keep him in, it felt like he could have thrown for 600 if you committed to it.
If they hadn't been blitzing so damn much, I think you might have.
He was outstanding. Mm-hmm. I think that there was some other viable, just to the fairness of the Big 12, some other like viable candidates. I didn't want to do Josh Hoover.
Yeah.
I felt like he had a comparable day, 4 touchdowns.
Their running back was really good finally.
Yeah. But I think that was the best pair easily on Saturday in the Big 12.
Defensively, we're going to go to BYU.
Okay.
Jack Kelly, 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. We'll talk about him more in a second, but I think his health is just about as important as Behren Morton's health for their respective units.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into that. My defensive player of the year of the week is Jalen Daniels. Might as well have been for Utah.
Yeah. Helped him out.
Yeah, the way he was just gifting. No, it's Jackson Benny at Utah. He did have a great game outside of the interception. 10 tackles and then 1.5 for loss. But then there were 3 interceptions that were thrown. All 3 were like, what are you doing? Yeah. But his came at an important time, and I think he had the hardest degree of difficulty because he's going in trying to get a foot in at the sideline. At the time, Kansas is, what were they at, around the 15-yard line. Mm-hmm. It's 14-10 Kansas. They're in the fourth quarter. That was the biggest, like the pick 6 was kind of just, all right, Utah's winning this game.
Yeah.
But that was, to me, the biggest of the 3. And then on top of that, Jackson Benny just had an outstanding game. Yeah. Congratulations to our regular season finale offensive player of the year of the week. Texas Tech takes on BYU. It is true. It is a rematch. It is in Jerry World. It is in Arlington. But if we look back at the first matchup, if I simply asked you, what did you do well? What needs to be different? What would that list look like?
Well, I think the difference you've been working on incredibly hard. The difference is you need to execute in the red zone. Mm-hmm. The drop passes, the frustrating. After that game, you came up with a no-stone zone. So that is something they've been working on. But just to clue into that one game, certainly it's that. The other question is much more intriguing to me. Right? Because what did you do well in the game? Like, kind of everything else?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I don't think, like, you don't need to come up with a brand new game plan.
I was trying to think of things that weren't just like, hey, you beat the crap out of them. That's what I like. But you kind of just...
You're more physical. You rushed the passer well. You were all over Bear Bachmeier. You ran the ball effectively. You threw the ball effectively. If you would have caught the ball, it would have looked a lot different in the box score. So I think if one team of the two needs to go in with a brand new game plan, and hopefully their coach is focused on that.
If I was getting into specifics, like we talked about special teams earlier, right? You were better than them in special teams. Part of it because they gave you mistakes, but if you're looking at things that you can, you can't repeat a muffed punt unless they do it, right? You can't repeat a questionable return unless that return man decides to take it out and gets tackled at the 15. But you can continue to do the things that you were good at with special teams, and that was for Stone Harrington. He was lights out that day.
Jack Burgess was awesome.
Yeah, both of them. I mean, and so that's something that I do think that is important to BYU's DNA, which was also kind of odd to see them struggle in that way. And then, like you said, you made life hell for Bear Bachmeier, and not only because you lived in the backfield, but I also looked at, you managed Chase Roberts, and I think that this is something that is important again. And again, it just goes into rinse and repeat, but you managed Chase Roberts, but also nobody was ready to get out of Lubbock, Texas faster than Parker Kingston. You took him completely out of the game. Mm-hmm. And again, part of that was like Cole Wisniewski. He was certainly an MVP that day. I think he was tired of seeing him in his face, certainly tired of just being hit by him. But then I also think, and this is where I go back to maybe Caleb Douglas, although if you look at it, all four of your main targets between Aiken and Virgil and Douglas and Carter, they all had a play on the outside. Mm-hmm. You had a big gain to Virgil. You had the massive third down. Oh, is that going to be picked? Nope, here's Coy Aiken. Good job coming back to the ball. Obviously, the touchdown to Caleb Douglas. And then Carter had a big chain mover, too, in the third quarter where he makes a man miss. Almost fumbles, but doesn't. And so you also had a couple other plays that maybe you either could have gotten pass interference. I'm not saying they were the wrong call, but there was one specifically early on, like with Caleb Douglas, where I thought that could have been pass interference. Little things like that. Or he could have just hauled it in, which easier said than done. But I think like those sort of things, I think you need to continue to do in this one. And it's past just go be what you've been all year long defensively, but go win some one-on-one matchups, because I think you're going to get them on the outside again. And then, Jacoby Williams and what'd you call him, Caleb Dickey? Jacoby Williams and Cam Dickey were, when you got them in space, were outstanding. And I thought when you ran at the tackles, I thought you were really, really good. And so the in between the 20s, you move the ball, and I do think it's like, hey, are you executing better in this one?
Yeah.
The didn't do well, you said red zone execution, agreed. The other one, and this is where you kind of already mentioned this, but not only Jack Kelly, but also Glasker, both of them have gotten healthier. And even in that game, when they blitzed, part of this, again, goes back to the Morton throw the ball away.
Yeah.
But when they blitzed, you didn't always handle them well. They did a couple of stunts that freed up both of them different times. Can you clean some of that up? That would be something I would note.
I think Behren Morton has been much better against pressure since that game. I think that shook him loose a little bit.
Uh-huh.
One of those, that first sack was 6 seconds in the pocket. Mm-hmm. It's not on the offensive line.
No,
I think the offensive line struggled a little bit against West Virginia, picking up some stunts and whatever else. Mm-hmm. There were several times Jacob Ponton went inside and let the outside guy come free, thinking the back was going to chip him, and there was just no chip. Mm-hmm. On the play that Mitch Griffiths left on, seemingly that's what happened. So, and then there was a Behren Morton sack earlier in the game where Ponton just obviously goes inside and lets the guy free. I don't know if he didn't see him or what. And then Jacoby Williams just runs right past him. It's like there's no communication there. So I certainly think that if BYU really affects this game defensively, it's because of that. It's because of the pressure. But it has to be quicker than it was against Texas Tech the first time, because Texas Tech's offense is running quicker.
And if I'm a defensive coordinator, and part of this goes into like the total game plan of how do you beat this Texas Tech team that's just whacking people? Mm-hmm. To me, I think defensively, you have to send people. Like you have to hope that the offensive line is lining up on a day like that, where if you're sending 6, sometimes if you're going to send 7 every once in a while, that you're having miscommunication, and it really didn't cause like mistakes, but it was shots on Behren, and it made you, hey, I've got to throw it in the turf or just throw this way quicker than I want to, right? That's like your, to me, best case scenario, that you're able to find pressure. So why wouldn't you, with some of these guys that you already like blitzing, maybe send them more in this game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. This has been circling back to college football playoff implications here. You kind of mentioned this. I'm just curious. Is Tech a lock with any outcome?
I would love to see where Texas Tech is ranked yesterday, if you're watching this on Wednesday. 2 days ago, if you're watching it on Thursday.
What if they're watching on Friday?
That'd be 3 days ago.
What if they're watching it Saturday morning?
4 days ago.
What if they're doing it after the Big 12 championship game on Sunday?
I think that if you're ranked 4th, you're a lock. If you don't move up and get past, like if Oregon jumps you somehow, which I don't think will happen, then I would say no, you're not a lock. Because obviously they think you're capped at 5. You're not worth a 4 seed. But if you're a 4 seed going into the conference championship game, they think you're one of the 4 best teams. I don't think you would move too much with a BYU win.
I think you're a lock.
Yeah.
I think you're a lock.
I agree.
Yeah.
Because I think you will be in the top 4 today. Or yesterday or the day before yesterday.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to sidetrack you. I was just curious. BYU, if we look at where we just looked at that last game that you saw, the win 29-7 here in Lubbock, what have you thought of them since that game?
So you beat them 29-7. Their offense looked really bad. But even before that, I didn't think their offense looked great for a large stretch of that Iowa State game. Then they kind of piled on at the end. I think there was a defensive touchdown and more. But if you go all the way back to Colorado, Arizona, West Virginia, Utah, they didn't look dominant ever. They were just winning games.
Right.
Which there's something to be said about that. Then you murdered them. And going into that TCU game, I thought, well, I think they'll beat TCU, but TCU also needs to bounce back. And they just not dominate anybody. So, like, is their offense any good? Is their defense really that good? Or have they just caught all the breaks? Well, they put belt to butt on TCU. Really good bounce back. And then I thought it was a hard-fought game against Cincinnati. And then they hammered on UCF, not as bad as you did. So
thank you.
I do think that they have looked better in their final stretch than they did for any other 3-game stretch this season, even going back to their opening 3-game stretch, because they didn't look very good at all against Stanford. They beat them 27-3. And then they kind of bumbled their way through a 34-13 win against East Carolina. So I think they're playing their best football. I think Texas Tech is playing their best football.
So I think the defense has gotten better, and it wasn't like poor by any means before.
Right.
But I really did like those linebackers mean so much to that team. Like it's total quarterbacks of the emotional leaders of the defense, but also they just make a ton of plays.
Yeah.
And I think them getting healthy has helped that. But also, I think that they just responded as a team, like you said, knowing like, okay, well, we just made this really difficult on ourselves. Not that we lost in Lubbock, but how we lost in Lubbock. And clearly, the CFP has replied saying, yeah, kind of did.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been, but that's where they're at. And I like you said, I had written down that they scorched TCU, but I mean, just TCU didn't have a shot in that game.
No, they just smothered them.
I agree. Cincinnati in the Cincinnati game on the road, they out-toughed them. And then UCF, I thought it was impressive because early adversity, it wasn't like they had a couple miscues and they found themselves down 14. No, the Knights had 2 legit drives, like ramming it down their throat to score and go up 14-0.
Yeah.
But then it's like it took them about till the mid, because they missed a field goal too early on the second quarter. Mid-second quarter on, they settled in and then just said, oh, yeah, we're way better than you.
Yeah.
Like, way, way, way better than you. And so, as a team, I think that they are playing their best football.
Yeah.
I think they're playing better football on this side of you than they were the other side. The other thing, if you have watched LJ Martin, who's also gotten healthier, he has gone off in the last 3 games. 6 touchdowns, responsible for 518 yards of offense over those games too. Like he's the most complete back in the Big 12. He's going to be, like we said last week, he's going to be a first-teamer in the conference with Cam Dickey. This also goes back to, though, how many points difference is a healthy LJ Martin, where he didn't get much against you, ended up with like 30-something yards. Can't remember how many carries he had, but that number went away real fast after he took some shots, and that was a question going into that with his shoulder. A healthier LJ Martin, is he worth a touchdown? For a defense that's been so good at stopping the run, regardless of who it is. So, I mean, there is something to be said. I think that this is the best running back you've seen, but I don't even think it's the best running game you've seen. Now, Bird Ficklin, when you face Utah, Bird Ficklin was not a part of that recipe. But still, I think Utah, all in all, is the best run game that you've seen, and you handled them. But individually, I think LJ Martin is the best running back. So we'll see. I still think that you're going to control them. He'll probably have a better day than he did in Lubbock, but just because of, amount of carries. What, against Cincinnati, I think he had 32 carries.
Right.
Plus a couple, like 3 catches. So that might be one, or should be one thing if you're going, hey, what's going to be different this week than what you saw in Lubbock? A more concentrated effort to get him the ball. That's one thing you can certainly put on there. So how much of a difference will that make? Well, I guess we'll find out on Saturday. I feel like this question's going to answer itself.
Okay.
As we move along, if we just continue on with your defense and just how good they've been. Earlier in the overreactions, I said they would be the best defense in any era. But just for you, is this the best Big 12 defense we've ever seen? Where does it rank?
It's so hard because you are going in between eras. It's certainly the best Texas Tech defense of all time.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a question. Especially if you win the Big 12. Now, there were some defenses that didn't have an offense as good as this. There were certainly offenses that didn't have nearly as good a defenses as this. You've had sides of the ball where you didn't have the opportunity to win a championship. But I just look at it like this. If you put this defense on the 2008 team, do you beat Oklahoma? What does that game look like? If you put this defense in any game in 2015, do you go undefeated and win a national championship? Yeah, probably. So I think in the Texas Tech perspective, yes, this is the best Texas Tech defense in the Big 12 era. I still look at like 2009 Nebraska that had Ndamukong Suh and some of those guys on that roster. And it would be hard for me to say, yeah, hard and fast Texas Tech this year is better than them. But, you know, they went 8-4 because their offense wasn't very good. I'm having a hard time, Clint, saying this isn't the best Big 12 team. Now, certainly 05 Texas and 2000s Oklahoma and 2008 Texas Tech and Oklahoma and Texas and 2009 Texas and these Oklahoma teams with Baker and Kyler and Jalen that all were in playoff contention. Maybe a Missouri team here or there. 2007 Kansas.
Yeah, until they saw anybody from the South.
2007 Kansas. There's been a lot of good teams in the Big 12. I'm close to just stacking this team up with all those.
I think
it depends how the season ends, obviously. But I'm going beyond defense and saying this team is just one of the best.
I think it's a fair comparison because if you're looking at the level of dominance that you've had, I mean, you're way better than some of those other ones of results. I mean, again, this is where it goes back to different era, different competition, different sort of Big 12.
Yeah.
Fine. You're still in a top 3 conference in America and beating teams by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And you also, like, this is something that I think maybe could be your a measuring stick in there, right? Well, first of all, 100 points in Big 12 play, any conference play that you're playing 9 games is crazy. Incredible. And last week we were doing the points per game stats, just the stats side of it, and not really breaking down, hey, all of these guys that are getting drafted and compared this, things like that. It was just the numbers. And Nebraska in the season was 10.4, right? And I thought that you would wind up 6th or 7th, maybe 5th.
Yeah.
You wind up 2nd. Overall, 11.3. If you go just Big 12 play, you're the best. 11.1 points per game. And I was rounding out, okay, offensively, what's your big play opponents? What have they averaged together? 25.6. You beat, on average, still. That's just in Big 12 play. The averages work out to a 2-touchdown difference. That's not even in the same stratosphere.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think, like I said earlier, I think it's the best defense we've seen in the Big 12. I don't have any issue, especially depending on how the season works out, like you said. But I don't see how you wouldn't put the whole team in there. If I'm going, it's the best defense, and the offense doesn't suck. It's pretty good too. How are they not in that conversation? Which, by the way, 2 shutouts this year in the Big 12 for Big 12 play. You had both of them. And that's the other thing. I was like, oh, well, yeah, it was against West Virginia, Oklahoma State. Oh, I'm sorry. Did they not play 11 other games?
Yep. Well, 8 other conference games.
Sure.
Yeah. 16 together.
I was trying to give Tulsa some credit there. I was trying to give Pitt some credit there.
Yeah. Speaking of legacies of a defense and legacies in general, what do you think Behren Morton's legacy is here at Texas Tech?
This is such an interesting conversation because, first, I feel like fans, and I get fans are going to fan, and you want them to be passionate from anything from the entire program down to their favorite player, right? That's what makes sports special. Fans can be overly defensive of Graham and of Pat. You could probably say that about the string of really great quarterback play under Leach in that conversation too. But with it, it's not that I don't disagree with them when they're like, hey, Graham's the best Texas Tech quarterback that's been here. Or if you want to say Pat. But they can also be weirdly aggressive on the other side, trying to like diminish what Morton's done in his career because he's dealt with injuries. And that's what, I don't understand that. If anything, I think he's the toughest quarterback that Texas Tech has ever had. Probably B.J. Simmons has a argument there too.
Right.
He's also transformed his mentality as a quarterback. If you go from young Behren to the Behren Morton we see today, like the first word that most people would say with young Behren Morton was a gunslinger. And to me, that is bad more times than it is good when you're describing a quarterback that way. Well, now he's turned into just an efficient quarterback that's running a really good offense, right? But then you look at his win total as a starter. He just wins games. 25-9 in his career as a starter. If you're going just full-time starter, when you knew coming into the season he was the guy, he's 18-4. All he does is win the program games. And so I don't understand, I guess, like I don't think he's Graham Harrell, so I'm going to try to tarnish what others think of Behren Morton. He wins games. And like he's also in an era that players could leave whenever they wanted and would be highly, I'm not saying he's not getting taken care of here, but would be a highly sought-after guy had he gone in the portal either season. He didn't. Like, he wants to be here. So that's the angle I don't get. I think he's easily a top 5 quarterback. That's where I view him for Texas Tech. I mean, go Graham, then Pat, and then Cliff, Behren, and BJ, probably somewhere like off the top of my head.
Yes, in the air raid area, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but if you don't have him in your top 5 even, that's fine. But I don't understand anyone that's like, how could you have him in the top? He's taking you to a place, and we've seen it. We have physical proof this year of what it looks like without him, like how important he is to the roster and to like the team. Like, yes, he's got a great defense. Yes, he's got 2 really good running backs. It does not work the same without him. It just doesn't.
It frustrates me so much that Utah game gets talked about so often because Behren in the offense did not look good for 2 quarters. And then, Hammond didn't look good 4th quarter, but he was awesome in the 4th. If Behren Morton throws that first ball to Caleb Douglas on the sideline, 6 inches to the right, it bounces out of bounds. If it's 6 inches higher, Caleb Douglas bean tops the guy.
Yeah.
It just so happened to bounce into another guy's arms.
Yeah.
The other interception in the end zone, if it's 6 inches to the left, Koyakin comes down with it. Where it was thrown, Koyakin just got it ripped away from him. Bad ball placement. But so many Texas Tech fans look at that game as like the barometer of his career. That Behren makes bad decisions and he stinks. And it just kills me because it's not true. It's just flat out wrong, factually. He's the Big 12 leader this year in completion percentage.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Big 12 leader in passer efficiency. And again, as you said, Oklahoma State's offense against Oklahoma State's defense, this Texas Tech offense, scored 28 points. And you killed it in the 4th quarter as far as you throttled down and didn't try to kill him. And you looked decent in the 3rd with Mitch Griffiths, but that first half was really bad. And if it weren't for the defensive touchdown and the special teams touchdown in that game, there would have been some alarms going off. But there weren't because you did have those things. Mm-hmm. So if you just look at Behren Morton as a career, 4th all-time in yards at Texas Tech, 4th all-time in touchdowns, pretty much the same amount of reps as Seth Dagey. He started all 12 games last year to Behren Morton. He's starting 10 games this year. He went 6-2 as a starter the year before in 23 with a bum shoulder. He's gutted out this year again. He was hobbled most of last year with the same shoulder. He's a tough son of a gun. The longevity, the fact that he stayed, the offers he ignored. Behren Morton is an all-time Red Raider. If he wins this weekend, he's moving up the list. Mm-hmm. If he wins on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, even further up the list. Mm-hmm. If he wins a national championship, I mean, quarterback gets a lot of credit, and he would deserve it at that point.
Could he? I mean, at that point, yes. If you win a national championship,
be an all-timer.
Without a national championship, could he? And maybe I don't know how you feel about it now, but if you, let's say he wins a Big 12 championship, could he play his way onto the side of the building?
I think Taj is going up. I think Jacob Rodriguez will go up. Behren, I don't know. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't know. Without a national championship, I think that'd be a hard sell for me.
Yeah, I think it would too. I'm just curious where.
Not that he doesn't deserve to be amongst his peers as one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, if that happened and they made that decision, I wouldn't be sitting here like pouting about it.
No, I wouldn't pout. I just, yeah.
I'm with you. I think that part would be really tough. I think he's already a lock as a Hall of Famer. But if he wants to do that, put some pressure on him.
You ready for a Big 12 whip around? Whoosh. It'll look a little different this week as no other games are being played. I'm going to rapid fire my season predictions.
Perfect.
Will you pull up the standings and tell me how wrong I was?
I absolutely would love to do that.
And then you can also give yours if you want to. Or you could just make fun of me the whole time.
That one sounds fun.
All right. We'll go alphabetically.
Okay.
Arizona, I had 3-9, 1-8 in conference play.
Idiot! Look how wrong you are.
So bad.
I was wrong too.
Yeah. Arizona State, I had 9-3, 6-3 in conference play.
Yeah, so 8-4, 6-3.
Yeah, I had them beating Mississippi State.
Me too. I'll let you keep running through. I'll do my
BYU 7-5, 4-5 in conference play.
So dumb.
Baylor. Adam 10-2, 8-1 in conference play.
You're close.
Yeah.
3-6 in conference play.
Yeah.
5-7, missed a bowl game.
Yeah. Cincinnati 6-6, 4-5 in conference play.
I think that's you should label that as absolutely correct. 7-5, 5-4.
And I had them losing to Nebraska. It was the Kansas game that got me, and they should have lost that one. Colorado 6-6, 4-5.
Yeah, 3-9, 1-8. I'm gonna count that as a miss.
Yeah. Houston 6-6, 3-6. I had them 8-4, and on my final pass, I was like, I can't get there.
Well, you talked about them a lot, and
Yeah.
I was probably the most wrong on Houston of anybody in the building. I just thought Connor Wigman was going to be dog water. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to hold.
Well,
them
and that's
back.
why I couldn't stick with 8-4. I just couldn't do it.
9-3, 6-3.
And what's frustrating is it was the Oklahoma State game that I really flipped because I thought Oklahoma State would win a couple. We'll get there. Iowa State 9-3, 6-3.
Yeah, I mean 8-4, 5-4.
And Kansas 8-4, 5-4.
5-7, 3-6 there. Actively trying to throw games away at the end.
Kansas State 10-2, 7-2.
Somehow got to 6-6.
Somehow.
5-4. Also somehow got to 5-4 in Big 12 play.
Oklahoma State 5-7.
1-11. 0-9, baby.
TCU 8-4.
We got to the 0-18 mark, by the way. We did
8-4, 5-4.
Which you nailed.
In fact,
Rob Bro, TCU expert.
No, I didn't nail it. Texas Tech 10-2, 7-2. We're gonna call that a win. In fact,
Shun the non-believer.
It was
Shun the non-believer.
I had them losing to Utah and Arizona State, so that's pretty close. UCF 3-9, 2-8.
Yeah, I mean, close enough. 5-7, 2-7.
2-8. What did I do there?
Oh, I didn't even.
I guess I had them
2-8.
1-8. I had them 1-8 in Big 12 play.
Yeah.
Utah 9-3, 6-3.
Could not be more wrong at 10-2 and 7-2.
And then West Virginia 5-7, 2-7.
Yeah, 4-8, 2-7. So.
And it was Ohio. Ohio got me.
So that's helpful that you write and keep these things. I give predictions and then have to try to remember what I predicted along the way. But I'll say this. I think the way that I view the Big 12, where you are and how everybody finished the regular season, I think you're just as strong at the top as I thought you'd be. I just had teams wrong, other than you. You've got 9 teams with a winning record. You've got 10 that are bowl eligible. If you're breaking it down, I think Iowa State, TCU, and Arizona State, if you're saying, hey, like these teams are going to be 8-4, you go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Even if you were like, hey, I think Arizona State will go 10-2, it's not unbelievable that they'd go 8-4 for any of those, right? But I think all 3 got there in ways that were very confusing. And then Arizona and Houston, also massive surprises to me. And if I'm going, hey, I think you're strong at the top, you're messy in the middle, you have 2 disappointing teams, truly disappointing teams, that's Baylor and Kansas, and then some bad teams at the bottom, you go, oh,
Yeah.
that's a typical Big 12 season.
Just a little different.
Yeah, you just
cast
have
of
to mix the
characters.
pieces, and that's what makes the Big 12 fun. Mm-hmm. But people will tell you that's what makes the Big 12 bad.
Yeah.
But if other conferences do it, especially the SEC, it's not. It's fun, and just look how good the league is because everybody's beating everybody. So, yeah. Anyways, I think my final thought on the conference, for at least this week, would be description-wise, You are exactly what I thought you would be. Where teams are, there's a lot that I missed. There's a lot that everybody missed.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It is time for the fan question of the week. As always, you can drop a question on Rob's Twitter, on my Twitter, Double T97.3's Twitter, or on the comment below. We appreciate all the comments. Make sure to like and especially subscribe. We'd appreciate it. Just keep your head on a swivel. We might be having some subscription-based competitions coming up. We'll let you know when we get there. We're excited about that. But your fan question of the week this week, you kind of answered this in the overreaction. Mm-hmm. How long has it been? How long have we been here? What is Texas Tech's ceiling in the final college football playoff standings?
I think it is 2. I said earlier, but I think it is 2. Because Ohio State has been number 1 for so long, since the beginning of the playoff poll, I don't see them moving if they win. Even if it's just like a disgusting 3-0 win over Indiana, and they both look awful, and Julian Sayin throws 17 picks, and everyone gets hurt, well, maybe then. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to happen. Maybe they go to 1. I think the much more reasonable thing is that one of these teams in the Big Ten Championship wins by 14, and Alabama beats Georgia. And if those 2 things happen, which both are very likely or could happen, Texas Tech will be number 2.
I think 2 is the ceiling. My expectation is you're going to be the 3.
Agreed.
And there's just, I know you were trying to lay out situations. There's not a route in my mind to get the top seed.
Yeah.
Just whoever wins the Big Ten.
It would be
and it should be that way. The way it's set up, you should absolutely have that. I know Alabama has beaten Georgia. I got to be honest. I don't think it's going to look as bad as Georgia, Texas. I think Georgia's going to handle Alabama this round.
I think 3 is the most likely outcome.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's another fun. The final score prediction on the way out. I haven't given a score prediction.
I haven't either. I think both these teams are playing their best football. I still think you can get to 31. I think BYU will come up with a lot of things to affect Texas Tech. I'm going to say 31-17.
29-7. No, my real score, we're dangerously close because I also have them scoring 31 points. I agree with everything you said. I think a neutral site will also help them a little bit, but I also think just it will help a young quarterback to see them again. Now, it does nothing about the talent, right? That you're still a great defense, but I'm going to put them at 20. What?
Did you hold in a burp?
I don't know what
kind of pained face.
My throat just did a thing at the end.
You just had a.
It's like a.
You should have pained. I just was checking on you.
It wasn't like a pain.
You okay?
It was like
no, your face was pain.
Your face is pain.
No, I just at the time.
Hey, man.
Hopefully next time we see you, we'll be talking about a Big 12 championship. The first in Texas Tech's history. And a New Year's Six Bowl, also the first in Texas Tech history.
You're ugly.